hurt before you judge my heart. Secrets some men won't tell, and some don't even know. The subtopic. Why should I be like that? Why should I, you know the line, nothing but the dog in me. Atomic Dog was a popular song released by George Clinton in 1983. The writer laments the fact that he seems incapable of self-control around women. This is the view many women and men have about men, especially black men. American history has often portrayed black men as oversexed, over-aggressive, out of control, borderline beasts. Even though a huge majority of rapes during slavery and the period right after were overwhelmingly carried out by white men against black women. But to be fair, most of us have used the adage that all men are dogs. The biblical, Pito, you ain't got to say amen. The biblical epitome of dog-like behavior, a stereotypical person that comes to mind is Samson. And Samson is portrayed as a prime example of a man of strength who was weak around women. It's often summed up as a man who could not control his own desires and ended up being brought down by a woman. We know about Samson's fondness for prostitutes. We know about how his resistance was won over by Delilah. And her charms caused Samson to fall asleep in her lap. We know the tragic outcome of Samson's actions that eventually led him on a suicide mission. What we don't take time to do is to see how Samson got there. Either way, after the talk, Samson was more convinced than ever. And you know how it is when she's looking good and talking good. Samson departs and later returns to Timnath to consummate the marriage and sees the lion, which is probably a skeleton now, since time has passed. Bees have made a home in the skeleton. And Samson takes some of the honey and gives it to his parents. Though his parents are unaware where the honey came from, since it's against God's law, Levitical law, to eat anything from a carcass. As the usual custom was, Samson had a great wedding feast, which probably lasted days or even a whole week. In the midst of the celebration, Samson poses a riddle and says, I got a riddle about something strong and something sweet. And the riddle is about the honey that Samson ate that came out of the lion that Samson killed. The Philistines could not solve the riddle, and therefore they went to Samson's bride and threatened to kill her and her family. Samson's bride pleads with him to show her that he loves her. She cried and pleaded so much, Samson told her the answer to the riddle. And the men of the Philistines tell Samson that there's nothing sweeter than honey, and there's nothing stronger than a lion. And Samson tells them that if you had not pried it out of my wife, you wouldn't have gotten the answer. I won't say what the King James called her. I'm going to leave that alone. But the Bible says that God's Spirit, I told you God was behind it the whole time. God's Spirit came upon Samson, and he's killed 30 Philistine men to pay off the bet that he lost. God was trying to move Samson to attack the Philistine. But Samson was in love right now, and Samson was more interested in making love, not war. Samson had fallen by the wayside. If I was there, I wish I could have told Samson, you can't protect your heart by only giving your body. That only makes your heart a little colder Y'all young people up there, I'm glad y'all listening each time you do it. If I had been there, I would have told Samson the kind of healing he needed was not sexual healing, but it needed spiritual and emotional healing. And I would have warned him, no matter how hard you try to be, there's always a Delilah who got more game than you. If Samson had not fallen for Delilah, which again proves he's not a player, he would have ignored her crying and pleading. That wouldn't have bothered him. But here's Samson getting doubly hurt. When you finally trust again, only to place your heart and your head in the wrong hands and in the wrong lap. Samson, the Bible said, told Delilah the secret of his strength, which is his covenant with God, symbolized by his long hair that had never been cut. When he told Delilah the secret, the Bible says, she caused Samson to fall asleep in her lap. The Bible said Delilah calls the barber, and the barber comes and cuts Samson's hair. She wakes Samson up in her betrayal. And Samson said, I will go out just like I have before. But the Bible says some of the hardest words to hear that you'll ever hear. He shook himself as before. But the Bible says he did not know that the Lord had left him. It's sad when you've lost the presence of God. The Bible says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, and that's true. But the Bible does not say you won't leave him. It says he won't leave you. You can wander far from God. Now Samson finds himself in the enemy's hand. That's a bad place to be. Samson is bound by the enemy. His eyes are bored out. Now he's blind and cast into prison. Now he has to turn a wheel in order to make grain. And I can hear a songwriter sing, all of that broken heart. How do you mend a broken heart? Well, the healing is not in people. The healing is not in pleasure. But the healing comes from God. Too many of us, when we get hurt, we go out and hurt somebody else instead of letting God heal our broken heart. Samson would have never ended up in the place he did if he would have let God heal his heart.